Okay. So last time till here we finished application scope of neural network. Now let's go ahead. Okay, on that day I was looking for this value. See, it's there. The neuron is able to respond to the total of its inputs aggregated within a short time interval called the period of latent summation, and threshold is 40 millivolt. Okay. Okay, so let's start from here. So basic models of artificial neural network. Okay, so the models of artificial neural network are specified by the three basic entities, namely, so first is given what? The model synaptic interconnection. In what way the synaptic interconnections are made. Okay, then the second one is which kind of training or learning types is adapted by updating or adjusting the weight correction weight. For example, in every iteration, we have to update the weights, and then only the network will going to learn. So what the training or learning types you are adopting for that particular neural network. And the third is their activation function. So which activation function is basically uh, uh, basically selected for that particular application. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, so three things are there: basic models, synaptic interconnection, the training or learning types, and their activation function. So let's see first the connection. So in what different ways the neural network can be connected. So if you see here, there are basically five different types. One is, I hope this is visible to all of you. Okay, now see. First one is single layer feed forward network, single layer feed forward network. Okay. Second, multi-layer feed forward network. Third, single node with its own feedback. Don't worry, we'll be seeing one by one. Then single layer recurrent network, single layer recurrent network. Then multi-layer recurrent network. Okay, multi-layer recurrent network. So let's see the first one, single layer feed forward network. So this is a single layer feed forward network. If you see here, there will be two layers. One is input layer and another is output layer. So from the input layer, the inputs will be given with the help of interconnected weights. And this is the output layer from where the outputs will be taken. So how this is basically drawn, let's understand so that there won't be any confusion. So suppose I'm having this is my input layer. Let's say here I am having two output layer neurons. So to this particular I am giving x1. Let's say to this one I am giving x2. To this one I am giving x3. Now from this one we will try to give to this output and this one also. Now let's say this is y1 and this is y2. So what naming convention we will adopt over here? This is coming from x1 to and it's going to y1. So I will say this weight as w11. Okay, first I will take this one, right, and then I will take this one. Clear? So this will be w11. Now this weight is coming from 1, I mean coming from the first input, it's going to y2. So I will take this as what, w12. Similarly, if I draw from here, so one is over here and another is over here. This I will do the naming as what, w21, and this one as w22. Similarly, I'll do the connection of this one and over here. So the first one will be w31 and second one will be w32. Okay, so clear all of you? From the input layer, try to connect with all the output neurons and give the naming convention of the weights properly. First take the input neuron ka value and then you take the output neuron ka value. Okay, is there any doubt to anybody? In this way you can connect. So this is my input layer. Okay, this is my input layer and this one is my output layer. So this is what feed forward. Why feed forward? Because we are giving data from here and it's going towards the forward direction. Okay, so this is called as what, feed forward network. Feed forward network. Clear all of you? So this is the first type. Then let's see the next one. Next is what, this one. And in this it's a multi-layer. Why? Because if you see, it's similar to the first one. Input layer is there and the output layer is there. Okay, so this is my input layer and this is my output layer, right? But along with this we are having two hidden layers. Okay, along with this we are having two hidden layers. So let's try to draw this one. And okay, let's first try to draw this one. So let's say, suppose I am having 1, 2 and 3. One, two, and 3. So this is my x1 here, x2, and this is my x3. Now let's say here I have kept one hidden layer. So this is my z1, z2, and this is my z3. Then again one more hidden layer, r1, let's say r2 and r3. So if you want, you can write this as n. Okay, so if more are connected, so you can write this one as n. Similarly over here also, let's say this is zn, and then we will make this one as xn. And after this, let's say the output neurons are there. So it's up to us how many output neurons we want. If you want 2 only, so let it be 2. So this will be y1. Sorry. Okay, this is y1, y2. Now I will make the connection. So these two are my hidden layers. Okay, these two are my hidden layers. Now how many hidden layers you must have, that depends on the complexity of the problem. Okay, so if it is very complex problem, then there might be multiple hidden layers will be there. Okay, but if it's a very simple problem, then the hidden layers is not required. So from here, first I will give the input to this one. So what will be the convention? This will be w11. Okay, now to this one, w12, and let's say to this particular, it will be w1. It's going to n, so this will be w1n. So this one w21, because from going from 2 to 1. This is w22, this is w23, sorry, 2n. Similarly this one This one will be W31, W32, and here W3N. Now from Z1, so Z1 is going over here. Now let's represent with some other way. For example, here we represented between X1 to Z1, the first hidden layer we used W. So here we can use V, right? And here we can use, let's say U, whatever you want, let's say U. So this will be V11, this will be V12, and this will be V1N. Okay, similarly this connect V21, V22, and V2N. Now here U11, U12, U21, U22, and from this one, let's say U31 and U32. From here, let's say we are getting the output. This will be our O1, O2. So like this, if we check that this one is the first input layer, okay, input layer. These two layers are hidden layers, right? Hidden layers, and the last layer, this one is what? Output layer. So this is the multi-layer. And why feed forward? Because its direction is not getting changed, right? From the input direction we are going towards the output direction, so it's feed forward network with multiple layers in it. So except from input and output layer, we are having multiple hidden layers also. Then after this, so I hope this diagram will be clear to all of you. Here in place of y2, you can also you can take one more, let's say yn, and then you can draw in that way. Then the next one is single node with its own feedback. So if you see here, only one node will be there, and from that particular, I mean to that node, we will give the input first, and we will get the output, and from the output we will again give the feedback to the same node. So this will become single node with its own feedback. So again, competitive nets is there. This is called a max net, right? And where it will be having basically the nodes like this, and all will be connected to each other with their own feedback also. And every in between all the nodes, there will be one constant weight will be there. So this is a max net. Then there is one more structure. Okay, this structure you just see. There will be one output neuron, and let's say from the input we are giving the input from here, right? So it will be a single layer, and only we are from one input we are giving to the y1, from this one we are giving to y2, and from this one we are giving to yn. And from here we can give the biases. So if you see here, the output from here is again given to y1, y2, and yn. From this output y2 we are giving to y1, y2, and yn, right? So the feedback is taken from the output, and it's again fed to the output neuron. So this is a single layer recurrent network, because the output is, I mean, we are giving the input, we are taking the output, again we are feeding back to the same network. Then the same network will process again that output, again give the output, again that will be fed to the network. So this is a recurrent type of network. Okay. So then see, this one is a multi-layer recurrent network, only one hidden layer we can include. So if you see here, what is different between this one and the next one? Here there were no hidden layer. Here just we included one hidden layer. So feedback we will give to the hidden layer first, and then from the hidden layer, whatever output is coming, that we will feed to the output layer. Okay. So the feedback we are taking from the output to the hidden layer. So only one hidden layer will come into picture. So this is what multi-layer recurrent network. So again, just see all of you. The first one was single layer feed forward. Then this one multi-layer feed forward, where we are having multiple hidden layers in between. Then input layer and the output layer. Then single node with its own feedback. Okay. competitive nets or MaxNet, single layer recurrent network, where the output will be given as a feedback to the output neuron. And then we are having the recurrent multi-layer network, where we are giving the feedback to the hidden layer. And then from the hidden layer output, we will give the input to the output neuron. Then there is one connection of this kind is there, which is called the lateral inhibition structure, where we are having the nodes like this, right? And every nodes we are giving the inputs and we are getting the output. And some connections are there. If you see here, some dot connection is there. For example, this is the whole, this is the filled circle, this is filled circle, and this is a hollow circle, right? So it has certain meaning. Okay, it has certain meaning. For example, it can be inhibition or it can be excitatory signal, right? But we can give the input one at a time to every neuron and we can get the output, right? And at the same time, this one is connected to this one is connected to this one, and this neuron is connected to this one. This kind of structure is called as a lateral inhibition structure. Now, most of the time we only use this kind of network, either recurrent network, or most of the time we will going to use this particular network, multi-layer feed-forward network. Okay, multi-layer feed-forward network, where we'll be having the input layer, output layer, and in between we'll be having the multiple hidden layers. So those who have seen the deep learning neural network, where we have so many layers of, so many hidden layers involved in the deep layer. So that's why it's called as what? A deep learning, right? So many multiple hidden layers will be involved in between input layer and the output layer. So only thing there, we will include what? Multiple hidden layers. Okay. Now all of you write the question, write a short note on activation function. Write a short note on activation function.
So we don't need to draw all those five
No,
basic
no,
types.
all those things are there. Don't worry about that. Okay, and it's not much important also, but it's there. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
So
whatever
can you just
question,
repeat this question?
whatever questions I am telling you to write, and then no, I am giving in the exam format. Those questions are very much important. So you cannot skip that particular thing. Otherwise, entire thing is there in the notes, and till where I will teach everything you just study. But whatever questions I am dictating you and giving you the answer, that questions are very important. Okay, so write the question, and this question they have asked multiple times. Write a short note on activation function. Activation functions. Write a short note on activation functions. So first, what is this activation function? For example, if you see here, let me draw and show you. Suppose we are having one neuron like this, okay, and we are giving the inputs x1, x2, x3, and this is connected with w1, w2, and w3 output. So at this particular neuron, we will going to do what? We will going to take the summation of like this, x1 w1 plus x2 w2 plus x3 w3. So first of all, we will get this particular answer, okay, and then let's say whatever values we are getting, that we will going to substitute inside the function which is present at this particular neuron. So some condition will be having some kind of function will be there. For example, signum function is there. Let's say signum function is there. So inside this particular function, signum function, we will going to substitute some value. Let's say 2 value we got from here. Okay, so we will substitute that 2 inside this signum function to get the output of this particular function. So this signum function may produce the output. If it is greater than equal to 0, it will produce 1. If it is less than 0, it will produce -1, let's say, or 0. So if it is signum of 2, it will produce 1. So depending on this, the entire calculation, there will be one function. So after calculation of weights and these inputs multiplication and their addition, we will substitute that value inside the activation function, and then we will get the output. So activation function in short, let's say suppose here we got 2, right? But after a substitution inside the activation function, we are getting these two number are getting changed to 1. Sorry, these two number getting changed to 1 0 or 1 -1. Okay, so only two kinds of output is getting changed. So that means the first task can be what? We can use the activation function to change the inputs of one kind to the another type of, or the desired kind of output. Okay, to the desired kind of output. So this can be one job, desired kind of output. So for example, inputs can, I mean, the accumulation of the inputs is 2, but we are converting these inputs to either 1 0 or 1 -1. Clear? Then now then we may have second. So this is about the first one is about if we are having, let's say, binary signal, let's say binary output we want to convert, or bipolar type. So in bipolar means 1 -1, where we are having the two poles. In binary, you can have 1 0, right? So we are converted to that particular type. We can also include the activation function of the type where we are having, we can find out the derivative and all, right? And based on that, we can also calculate the error. So this function can be of different types depending on the application. It can be a ramp function, it can be unit step function, signum function, sigmoidal function. Okay, so this function can be of different types. Depending on our application, we have to choose which kind of function we will going to take. Why we require activation function? Because see, if we are doing certain tasks, then to motivate us, okay, there will be certain kind of no inputs will be given, or let's say suppose I am doing my task and some remuneration is coming, or some no appraisal is coming, then I will be motivated to my work more. In the similar way, to excite this particular neuron, we include the activation function, right? Activation function which will excite that particular neuron. Second thing, it may convert one type of inputs to some other kind of desired output. Third thing, we are limiting our input to, okay, we are limiting our inputs to only one or two kind of output. That may be also possible. So depending on the threshold, we may decide that we should get only this kind of output. For example, we may have the range also. If suppose the output is about 2, then we may get 1. Output is between let's say 0 and 1.9, we will get 0. Output is below 0, we will get -1. So in that way also we can decide our threshold logic, and then we can get the output. So there are multiple tasks is there of this particular activation function. And in the exam, what you have to write, you will have to describe the different types of activation function and basically their graph. Okay, that thing you will have to describe. So let's see. So there are several activation function. The first one is called the activation function. So if you see here, for activation function, for f of x will be equal to x for all kind of x. So if you see here, this is our the first function, where for every value of x we will get the same value. I mean, it's a linear, right? From 0 it's going in the 45 direction. So whatever is the value of x, we will get the same f of x. So for every f of x is equal to x for all value of x. This is the identity function. It is a linear function and can be defined as f of x equal to x. So the output here remains the same as the input. There won't be any changes, right? So input layer uses the identity activation function. Second is binary step function is there. So in the binary step function, it can be defined as f of x equal to 1 or 0. So if x is greater than equal to theta, where theta is what, some kind of threshold value. If x is greater than equal to theta, we will say that we will get output as 1. And if x is less than theta, that threshold value, we will say that we will get value as 0. So where theta represents the threshold value, this function is most widely used in single layer nets to convert the net input to an output that is binary, 1 or 0. So if we want to convert the output, input to output of binary, then we can use this particular function. Similarly, we are having the bipolar function, where if we see bipolar step function, so this one was the binary step function, and now we are having bipolar step function. So if you see in binary step function, we are having 1 0. In bipolar, there will be 2 poles, so in place of 0 we'll be having what? 1 and -1. So bipolar step function, again the condition will remain the same. If x is greater than equal to theta, we will get 1. If x is less than theta, we will get what? -1. In place of 0, we will get over here -1. So where theta represents the threshold value, the function is also used in single layer nets to convert the net input to an output that is bipolar, that is +1 or -1. So till here, I think it's clear. The first one is the identity function, where f of x will be equal to x. Okay, so there won't be any changes between input and output. It's a linear graph. That's it at 45 angle. Then we have binary step function. So the binary step function will be what? It will give you the output 1 or 0 depending on the threshold. If the x value is greater than equal to theta, you will get 1, else you will get 0. Bipolar step function, you will get 1 and -1. Again, the condition will remain the same. So let's first see the graph. So this is what? A binary step function where we are having 0 and 1, right? So below this particular value at towards the left, we'll be getting 0, and greater than equal to 0 will be getting what? 1. So only two kinds of output will be getting. This is what? Binary step function. So 1 and 0 is there. In bipolar, we'll be having downward side also, and we'll be getting -1. So if you see over here, bipolar step function, we are having at -1 one line, +1 at one line, right? So we can decide the threshold greater than equal to 0, 1, less than 0, we will get -1. So this is bipolar step function. In the
Sir,
exam,
is it with respect to theta, not with 0?
theta can be selected any value, right? So here I will
Yes,
select
sir.
theta 0.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Theta is the threshold value. That's it.
Okay, sir. Got it.
So next is the sigmoidal function, right? So let's study the sigmoidal function. This is widely used. Okay. So sigmoidal functions are widely used in the back propagation network. Back propagation network we'll be seeing later. So in the back propagation network, because of the relationship between the value of the function at a point and the value of the derivative at that particular point. That means what? See, so sometimes what happens in the back propagation network, we have to calculate first the first the output of the input function. Okay, then we take the derivative of that input function. So whatever in the x term we are having the equation of that input function, we will take the derivative of that particular function, and then we will again substitute in the derivative that value, and then we will try to find out the output. So the sigmoidal function ka derivative is very easy, and this is most widely used in backpropagation network. So at any particular point, if you want to take the derivative, it becomes very easier. So if you try to choose some other function, the calculation or computation will become more complex. So this is computationally very easy, and it will not impose much burden on the computation. That's why the sigmoidal function is used at most of the places. Now let's see the sigmoidal functions. Two types. First one is binary sigmoid function, or this is also called as unipolar. So in the similar way where we have learned this one, binary step function. Okay, binary step function. This is what? This is unipolar also, unipolar step function. Okay, and then the bipolar step function. In the similar way, here we are studying with respect to sigmoidal function. The first one is binary sigmoidal function or unipolar sigmoidal function, and second will be bipolar sigmoidal function. So if you see in the binary sigmoidal function, we are given the equation this one. So it is also termed as the logistic or sigmoid or unipolar sigmoidal function. This is also called as the logistic sigmoid function. So remember this name, logistic sigmoid function. Now the equation of this particular is what? F of x equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. So this is the equation where lambda is the steepness parameter. Okay, where lambda is the steepness parameter. So derivative of this particular function will be, derivative is represented by f dash of x. So f dash of x will be equal to lambda f of x 1 minus f of x, right? So just remember this formula, otherwise those who are from the 12th maths derivative are, they can easily understand this particular thing. If any f of x function is there, f of x is equal to this kind of 1 upon 1 plus e raised to x is there, then the derivative can be represented as f dash of x is equal to f of x into 1 minus f of x. So this we can easily prove this particular thing, and if any constant is there, that constant will be multiplied. So taking the derivative of this particular f of x function is very easy. And if you see, the formula is what? F of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. So you will have to remember this particular equation, okay, while solving the problem also. This is the equation of unipolar sigmoidal function, or this is also called as binary sigmoidal function. And the derivative is what? Derivative is very simple. If we represent this as a f of x, then lambda f of x into 1 minus f of x. So this is a formula for the derivative of this one. Okay, now the values. So the values here will be in the range from 0 to 1. So in the binary, always remember, if it's a binary, the values will be 0 to 1. If it's bipolar, the values will be what? Minus 1 to 1. Okay, minus 1 to 1. So two poles must be there. So it is a binary, so only 1 and 0. And you can write over here, x is greater than equal to 0, 1, x is less than 0, 0. Let's see the diagram. So diagram is this one. This is a unipolar, so it's not going towards the, towards the minus 1 direction. Only it's there in the first quadrant at this one. And if we change the value of lambda, this lambda, you will get a different kind of curve. Okay, so for example, if this is lambda equal to 0.5, this is more inclined towards x. This is lambda equal to 1, so this is little bit than this one. This is lambda equal to 1.5, right? So it's far from this particular x-axis. So this is called a steepness parameter. So if we change the value of lambda, the steepness of this particular curve will change. So this is a diagram for unipolar. Now the next is bipolar sigmoidal function. So how to remember this? Bipolar will come, then remember that there will be 2 in the numerator, 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x, minus 1 is there, the whole minus 1 is there. Or the same formula can be written like this. So if we take this one, 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x, and then if you try to solve this one, okay, you will get this formula. So either you remember this one or this formula, 1 minus e raised to minus lambda x upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. Both the formula is okay, whichever formula you want to remember. After solving this one, we will get this particular expression. So where lambda is the steepness parameter and the sigmoidal function in the range of minus 1 to plus 1, because this is what? Bipolar. So we are having two ranges. And here f dash of x will be given by 1 plus f of x, 1 minus f of x. Okay, 1 plus f of x, 1 minus f of x. Again, if we are having this kind of equation, then the derivative can be written in this way: 1 plus f of x, 1 minus f of x, lambda by 2. So in the 12th we used to have this kind of expression, and then we used to prove in the derivative chapter. So anyway, here nobody will ask you to prove this particular thing, okay, but you will have to remember this formula, because in the calculation we will require. So the formula for f of x is what? 1 minus e raised to minus lambda x upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x, and the derivative will be what? F dash of x is equal to lambda by 2, 1 plus f of x, 1 minus f of x. So this is a bipolar sigmoidal function. And if you try, one more function is there, let's say hyperbolic tangent function. So hyperbolic tangent function is represented by h of x, and its formula is e raised to x minus e raised to minus x divided by e raised to x plus e raised to minus x, or 1 minus e raised to minus 2x upon 1 plus e raised to minus 2x. And its derivative is represented by h of x is equal to 1 plus h of x, 1 minus h of x. 1 plus h of x, 1 minus h of x. So this is hyperbolic tangent function. So we saw first one, the binary sigmoidal function 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x, derivative f of x 1 minus f of x multiplied by this lambda. Then bipolar sigmoidal function f of x is equal to 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x minus 1. Tangent function e raised to x minus e raised to minus x upon e raised to x plus e raised to minus x. So just remember the formula. And then so for this one, what will be the decision? Plus 1 or minus 1. If x is greater than equal to 0, then plus 1, else this will be minus 1. So both the poles we are getting. Now let's see the diagram. So in the diagram, if you see, both the poles will be having plus 1 and minus 1. And this curve will go from here till this particular minus 1. Again, if you change the value of lambda, this is a steepness parameter. So the steepness will be changed by just changing the value of lambda. And it will be there from this particular direction to minus 1. And then the last one is the ramp function. Okay, last one is the ramp function. So if you see the ramp function, it's like this. So ramp function, initially there will be a ramp and then there will be a constant value. So till here it's a ramp and then there is a constant value, right? Then there is a constant value. So this is the ramp. So we can have different values. For example, when x is greater than equal to 1, so let's say this particular point, so after this point it is a constant value, so we'll be getting 1 only. When x is in between 0 and 1, so we are talking about this particular line. So when x is in between 0 and 1, then at that time it's a linear function, right? It's a linear function. So whatever is the value of x, that will be the output, right? It's at 45 angle. So this is what x will be getting. And when x is less than 0, we will be getting what? 0 only. So 3 values we can decide by using this ramp function. Okay, then just see once, if you are having any doubt in any of these functions, you can just ask, but you will have to write this answer, entire answer. You will have to remember all the graphs and equation and their names and little bit theory about them. That's it for 10 marks. So from here we started by first one, identity function, binary step function, bipolar step function. Then we went to sigmoidal function, where we study two types, binary sigmoidal and bipolar sigmoidal. Binary sigmoidal means 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. Bipolar, so there will be 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x minus 1. Then there is a tangent function, h of x is equal to e raised to x minus e raised to minus x upon e raised to x plus e raised to minus x. Then we saw one ramp function where we can make the 3 decisions. So any doubt till here, you can ask me. Just see once. And I have uploaded this particular notes on our Google Classroom. Only thing, I didn't get the Zurada book, but I'm trying. If I'll get from somebody, then definitely I'll post few pages of that one. That is the human brain from that particular book. If I'll get from there. So I don't think any doubt is there. We can proceed. Okay, so this diagram is not properly taken. So what I can do, I can give from my side some values and then we can solve this particular problem. So let me write this. Okay. So write this problem, and this problem can be asked for 2 marks or 3 marks, or even can for 5 marks, let's say. But for 5 marks, it will be too much. 2, 3 marks, it's okay. So what we have to do, there are two neurons, x1, x2, x3, and input is coming to this one is coming to this, and here, let's say this value is 0.8, this one is 0.6, and this one is 0.4. Then we are having this y neuron. To this there is a bias. So let's say the bias is 1 point, this value I'm not able to see it, so let's make it 0.3. And then output y, and let's connect this one. So this is 0.1, this is 0.3, and this is I think it's minus is given. So let's take 0.4. And we have to calculate the output of this particular neuron. Output of this neuron. So just copy this sum, all of you. Copy this sum.
So can you repeat the middle values?
0.1, first weight 0.1, second weight 0.3, and the last weight is minus 0.4.
Thank you, sir.
And this one is 1, and this is 0.3, this weight is 0. And then there is a output. This is 0.8, 0.6, 0.4. So we have to use first binary sigmoidal function, and second we have to use bipolar sigmoidal function. So by both the function we have to calculate the output. So first task always you perform, that is you always calculate over here what is the net input is coming at this particular neuron. What is the net input is coming at this particular neuron. So how you can calculate? You can just check what input is coming and by what weight. So you can simply multiply weight and input. So what I will do over here, the first one, I'm writing the formula x1 w1, x2 w2, and x3 w3. So this is my formula, plus if there is any bias, okay, if there is any bias, and bias will always be, it's the main input will be 1, and the weight can be anything, okay, but bias, the main input will be always 1. So we have to always simply have to add this bias in this entire calculation. So this will calculate total y in. Okay, total y in means total input at this particular neuron, right? Total input at this particular neuron. So bias is simply plus over there. Now if you try to calculate this one, so bias is what? 1 into 0.3, right? So this will be 0.3 only. Then we are having x1 and w1 0.8 into 0.1, 0.8 into 0.1, plus then you are having 0.6 into 0.3, 0.6 into 0.3, and then plus we are having 0.4 into minus 0.4, 0.4 into minus 0.4. So tell me what input you got total. Calculate and tell me. What you got, all of you?
0.13.
0.13, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. So we got, let's say, this value. Then first is given what? We have to solve it by first binary sigmoidal function. So now here we will have to write the formula. So for binary sigmoidal function, f of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. So lambda x is you always consider as 1. Okay, let's assume lambda is 1. So after this, or if any lambda value is given, then you can take. If it's not given, you can consider as 1. Lambda you can consider as 1. So 1 upon 1 plus e raised to, okay, this x which we got total input, that we will substitute over here, 0.13. So you can calculate now this one and see what you are getting. Similarly, by the second method, you can calculate bipolar sigmoidal function. Mandar, Mandar, are you there?
Sir, he's put yes in the chat.
Okay. So Mandar, along with you, who else is there in TPO, training and placement?
Sir, I think he's rejoining. He's having mic issues.
Okay. So here, for the bipolar, what you can do, f of x is equal to 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x minus 1. Okay, so you can calculate over here, and lambda you can assume as what? 1. So simply you can write 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus 1.13 and then minus 1. Just calculate this one. हेलो।
हाँ सर, एम आई ऑडिबल?
हाँ, बहुत लो आवाज आ रहा है। मंदार सो रहा था क्या?
नहीं नहीं सर, माइक का इशू है।
अच्छा अच्छा। मैं क्या बोल रहा, टीपीओ में कौन है तेरे साथ में और?
भक्ति है,
हाँ।
शायद फ्लाइन, डैरल।
ओके ओके, ठीक है। ठीक है, मैं बाद में बात करता हूँ। हाँ।
ओके ओके सर, ठीक।
ओके। मुझे लगा तू 2:30 से 4:30 सोने का टाइम बना लिया, कनेक्ट बिनेक्ट करने के बाद में।
नहीं नहीं सर।
Okay, so this is how we can solve this problem. Let's see another problem. Okay, it's visible. So write this problem. Three inputs are there: 0.3, 0.5, 0.6. Then we are having 0.2, 0.1, and this is minus 0.3, minus 0.3, and then the y output. So solve this for both binary sigmoidal function and bipolar sigmoidal function. Get the output.
So should we solve this in the same way as the last sum?
Yes, yes. Okay, so I think the problem will be solved. Then we are having the different types of learning. Okay, so first one we are having supervised learning, then unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So by this time, most of you might be already knowing these different types of learning. So first of all, what do you mean by learning? Learning means what? Any permanent change in the behavior. Okay, that is called as what? Learning. So for example, if we are teaching somebody something, and if after some days we will observe that there is a permanent change in the behavior, right? Whenever we are giving that particular problem, is solving in that way only, right? So there is a permanent change. If we are observing, then we can say that that person has now learned it, right? So this is what the learning. Now the learning can be of different types. The first type is what? Supervised learning. In the supervised learning, the learning will be always taken in presence of some supervisor. So there will be supervisor present who will be observing whether the learning is taking place or not. So every time the supervisor will check, it will try to evaluate the error, and the error will be given to the input side, right? And then every time the error will be reduced. So based on that, the weight adjustment will be done, and then the learning can be done. So if you see here, the input is given from this particular side to the neural network, actual output is being taken. So this y is what? Actual output. And then, but this is the actual output, and there will be some desired output. So if there is a difference between actual output and a desired output, so that means desired output minus actual output, there will be some values is there. It's not zero. Then error signal generator will generate the error, and that d minus y signal, that is the desired minus actual output signal, will be fed to the neural network again. And based on that, the weight adjustment will be done. So in the supervised learning, in the start only, we must have the training data pair, like inputs and what will be the output for that particular pair. Okay, so that data we must have already. And this kind of learning we normally use for classification purposes, right? And if we see here, and here we say that we must have the label data. Okay, already we must have the data which are the labeled. And if we see the second type of learning, which is unsupervised learning, so here we don't have the label data. So actually what we do, we first give the input, then we get the actual output. But if we see there is no desired output, that means we are not taking the errors. Okay, so there won't be any supervisor present. This kind of learning, you can see it's visible in many of the animals also, even in the human being also. For example, suppose I want to learn anything, right? So I'll be learning from from the videos, lectures from the IIT and all. Okay, so that learning is what? It's a super. It's not supervised learning. Okay, that learning is what? It's unsupervised learning. But suppose I'm teaching you and in the classroom, okay, and you all are learning, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me. If you are doing any error, then I am correcting it. So that kind of learning is called a supervised learning, because you are learning in presence of me. But in unsupervised learning, you can learn from anywhere, from video, audio, wherever you want, from books. But if you are learning by yourself only, and there is no supervisor to correct you, then that kind of learning is called as what? Unsupervised learning. And here we will have the here in the first type we have the label data, but here we don't have the label data. So let's say what will happen. Suppose we are giving the input, and the at the output neuron, it will try to detect some kind of feature in it, and then it will try to produce certain output. So let's say, suppose I am giving chalk, I am giving let's say wood, and I am giving stone. Okay, so three things I am giving to this particular neural network. So first time it will take the chalk, and then it will try to understand some feature regarding that chalk, and then it will understand that it has no prior group of this kind of element. So it will make one class or one group, and it will put the chalk inside that. Okay, so later whenever a chalk kind of element will come to this particular network, it will try to get the feature, and if it will match with the previous chalk, then it will put in the same group. Otherwise, if the next time we will give the stone to this particular network, so it will again realize the feature, and then the stone feature will be different than the chalk feature. So it will understand that this is a new group. So it will make another group and it will put that stone inside the second group. Then it will take the input as wood, and wood it will analyze that it's not related to the previous two group, so it will make another group. So one by one the elements will keep on coming, right? Inputs will be coming, and if we try to analyze, and if they are matching to some kind of group, then it will make the cluster. Otherwise a new class will be created. So this is what unsupervised learning. In the reinforced learning, it's somewhat similar to this one, but in most of the cases, see here in the supervised learning, we must have all the data. We must have all the data, all the training pairs, okay, labeled data we must have. For every pair, we must have the output. But in most of the cases, for we don't have full information, okay, we may have the partial information. So in that particular scenario, we can use this particular reinforcement learning, where what we can say that the learning will take place in supervisor, but in what sense? Here some kind of rewards will be given. So for example, if the output we are getting, so we can tell that the output is only output is 60% correct, output is 50% correct, or output is 40% correct. So in this way, in this way we can tell, I mean, we can give certain kind of feedback, right? And we will not going to exactly calculate the error, but we can give certain kind of feedback like this, and that signal we can forward to the neural network. But remember here, this learning we will use when we don't have the full information, partial information we are having. But the first one where we will require the full information, okay, prior information must be there. So these are the basically three different types of learning. You can study this one from Shivananda and Deepa book, it's there with the block diagram. And if it is asked, so sometimes they will ask all the three different types of learning. So if it is asked, so choose according to time, write properly. Or many of the times they will just ask, write a short note on supervised learning or unsupervised learning, or let's say reinforcement learning. So if that is asked, it may be asked for short note for 5 marks, and if the whole question will be asked, it will be asked for 10 marks. So these two questions are very important in this particular till now we have learned. One is the activation function, and second is what? Second is different types of learning. So the question can be like this: what do you mean by learning, and what are the different types of learning? Okay. Then we are having the McCulloch-Pitts neuron model. So we can stop over here. Okay, I have some work. So till here it's enough till now. If we see here today what we have learned, so we started with the different types of connection, okay, where we learned different types of network connection, 5 different types. So let me just quickly revise. So this is what we learned. First is single layer feed forward network, input layer, output layer, right? Then we learn multi-layer feed forward network, multiple hidden neurons are there in between input and output layer. Then we will learn the single node, where only one node is there, output we are getting and feedback we are giving to the input layer. Then this is what MaxNet or competitive nets, where all the weights will have the same, all the weights will be same, right? And every neuron is having what? Feedback to itself only. Then we are having the recurrent kind of network where output is again fed to the output neuron. Then we are having, in between that, we are having the hidden layer. So output of the every neuron will be fed to the hidden layer inputs, okay, hidden layer. And then we are having this kind of structural network inhibition structure, where we can have the inhibition point or excitatory points, depends on which circle we are considering what, and then we can connect one by one, we can get the output to from the every node. So this is one kind of structure. Then we saw the activation function. Activation functions are different types. So first, identity function, where for every value of x we will get the same value, for all value of x we will get the same output. Then binary state function, where binary state function means 0 and 1, and it's a state function, so output will be 1 or 0. Then bipolar state function, so bipolar, 2 poles will be there, 1 or -1. So greater than equal to threshold 1, less than threshold -1. And this is a diagram. F of x is equal to x, first one. This is the state function, unipolar, bipolar state function. sigmoidal function. Then we are having the sigmoidal function where binary sigmoidal function or unipolar sigmoidal function is there, where we are writing f of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x. This is the formula for binary sigmoidal function. And the derivative of this one is f dash of x is equal to lambda f of x 1 minus f of x, where the output will be what? 1 and 0 based on what? Based on the certain threshold value. And its diagram, if you see, it's in the first quadrant and this quadrant only. It's not going to this particular quadrant because we are having only one pole, 0 and 1. Lambda is called a steepness parameter. If you change the lambda value, its steepness will vary. Then we are having the bipolar sigmoidal function. The bipolar sigmoidal function, the formula is 2 upon 1 plus e raised to minus lambda x minus 1, where this is will be having the two poles. The f dash of x is what? Lambda by 2, 1 plus 1 f of x, 1 minus f of x. Then tangent function h of x is equal to e raised to x minus e raised to minus x upon e raised to x plus e raised to minus x. The diagram of this one bipolar sigmoidal function is our two poles. Okay, so from this quadrant to this quadrant till minus 1. And again, the lambda is steepness parameter. If you change the lambda, the steepness will vary. Then we are having the ramp function. Ramp function, we can make the three decisions, right? So one decision, x is greater than equal to 1. Another decision, x whenever x is between 0 and 1. And the next decision when x is less than 0. And this is a diagram basically. So for this particular line, one decision below 0 and one decision for this constant line. Then we solve this particular problem. So if there are inputs given, right, to input neurons, and then that is fed to the output neuron, and then how we can calculate. So we always calculate by calculating what total net input at this output neuron first, and then whatever function they have given, like binary sigmoidal or bipolar sigmoidal. So we will substitute entire input in that particular function. We will try to get the output. So for this particular problem, we'll have to remember the formula. Again, for the input, total input, what will be the formula? Bias plus x1 w1 plus x2 w2, x3 w3, like this. Then we saw the different types of learning. So the different types of learning, we saw three different types of learning: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. So this, you know, all of you know this thing, different types of learning. So it's okay. Now from the next lecture, we can start with the McCulloch-Fritz neuron model, and then we can start designing. There's some designing problems also there, and this problem also, if you might have solved in ML, okay, till here it was there in your syllabus, I think. So any doubt till here, all of you?
No, sir.
Okay. मंदार, ये सो गया लग रहा है.
हेलो सर.
मंदार,
हाँ सर.
ठीक है, अटेंडेंस सेंड कर देना बाद में. ओके ओके, चलो चलो, बाय ऑल ऑफ यू.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक्स, बाय
Thank you, sir.
बाय.